Welcome to SHAYP Talks. My name's Annette Brown. I'm a senior HD specialist in Lothian for the Scottish Huntington's Association. Today we're going to talk about caring for a person with HD. That person might be a family member, might be a family friend, or someone close to you in your life. Huntington's is a neurological condition. It affects the brain. It affects a person in three ways. We talk about changes to their mind, changes to their mood, and changes to their movements or physical side. It's important that we understand Huntington's so that we can tailor or target the support they need. Support for a person with HD is always about the person, because every person with HD is different. There's no two people the same with Huntington's disease, and it's important that we understand that what works for one person might not work the second time round or might not work for another person. So while Huntington's is a complex condition, sometimes the simple things are the things that make the biggest difference. So we're going to talk about mood changes in the person living with HD. Mood changes can be very difficult to live alongside and can be very difficult to manage. There's some simple things that you can do to help that person, but also to help yourself. A person with Huntington's can often experience sudden mood changes, which means their mood can change from feeling happy and content to feeling upset, angry, or overwhelmed. It's important that we recognise why the mood changes, and we can therefore help them calm down or feel less frustrated and less angry. Common things that can change a person's mood can be things like hunger. If a person's hungry with HD, they can often communicate that by being angry. Understanding a person might be hungry is easy to fix by providing food or making sure your loved one has access to regular snacks and they never feel hungry at any point. Sometimes a person can get upset or angry because they're overtired or overwhelmed. Overtired as in they've done too much or they need to have a nap. Again, we can all experience times like that when we feel overtired because we've done too much, and simply providing the incentives to have a rest. Come on, I'll help you. Lie down on the couch, Dad. Making them comfortable, getting them their favourite blanket or a cushion to make them comfortable. Sometimes a person can be overwhelmed with information. There's too much demands made on them of what they're being asked to do. It's too complicated the way it's been asked, or it just doesn't make sense, or it's just something I can't do, or I don't think I can do. By helping them to calm down and explaining things in small steps, or sitting with them and going through it slowly can help them understand and not feel so overwhelmed. We've talked about mood and mood changes, and we've identified ways you can support your loved one. Let's move on to another side of the illness itself, and this is where the person's mind changes. Mind is something we need to remember things, to get organised and to plan to do things. Mind is what we need to make safe choices in life. So if your brain is changing because of Huntington's, these things can change about your mind. A person with Huntington's disease can be quite forgetful and have difficulties remembering things that happened relatively recently to them. It's a bit like getting up to go to the kitchen and forgetting why you've gone to the kitchen. How can we help that person that's forgetful? They might ask you the same things repeatedly, which can be a bit frustrating for you. But again, they've forgotten they've already asked you. Helping them to write things down, keeping a little notebook is really good, or sticky notes are good to stick things up that they need to remember. A lot of people use their mobile phone in terms of planning or keeping notes or keeping track on what's happening in their life. Or some people use just a basic dry board up on the wall in the kitchen that says this is what's happening today. So it's important that you encourage your loved one to use these simple tools that can help them get through their day and help them remember things that are quite important to them, like appointments or family events or parties that they're going to. Another thing that can be quite difficult is concentrating. We use concentration when we're watching TV or listening to music or listening to a conversation with families. It can be difficult for a person with HD to concentrate or focus on something so intense, and they often need small breaks during maybe these activities, or they need someone to simplify things for them. You could support them by making sure they have their short breaks, or switching the music off for a while, or putting their book down for a while and distracting them and just talking to them at that time. Sometimes a person with HD gets stuck on things, or fixated, we sometimes call that, and that means that you go on and on and on about something. It can be something simple like, I would like a cup of tea, I would like a cup of tea, and you hear that on repeat, or what time are we going out, when are we going out, what time are we going out, because they're forgetting what their next thing is, because timekeeping is really important with HD. This behaviour can be quite difficult to live with also, so it's important that you stay safe and that you're okay. If someone's stuck on a topic, distracting them is a good tactic. We find that using things that are really important to them, or treats, cake's always a good one, or using incentives that they enjoy, like maybe a walk in the garden, or breaking the cycle that they're in, is really good. You'll know what's important to your loved one, and it should be focused on what they enjoy to distract the fixation they have. Again, if there's something new in terms of fixation, perhaps anticipating difficulties is good. So if you know they like a cup of tea at 10 o'clock, treat them, have it ready for them, and give them it early so that that fixation doesn't happen. So you're anticipating what might happen, and you'll understand that if you've been through that with one of your family members. Okay, so we've talked about mood, and we've talked about mind, and now we're going to talk about the movement or the physical side of HD. All these things go hand in hand, they don't come individually, so it's important we recognise that also, and we'll talk about that later. The movement disorder with Huntington's disease also causes problems for a person when they're eating, when they're talking, when they're walking, when they're doing simple things that we take for granted every day, like getting washed and dressed and getting out in the morning. So we talk about movements that a person can control, simple things like picking up a drink, putting down a drink, but we also have issues where the person can't control the movement, their body moves without their consent. That can cause problems such as they look different, they may grimace or make a face that is unusual to other people, they may move suddenly in jerky movements, or they may walk as though they're under the influence of something that's affecting their walking, like alcohol. It's important that we understand it's the disease that's changing how the person appears to other people, and this can often be the reason that people are treated differently in the community. A person with HD should carry a wallet on them that explains their condition and who to contact in an emergency. It's worth you checking that your family member has that on them at all times. We also have an ID wristband that they can wear to alert emergency services if needed, so they get the right care in the right place and they're not mistaken for someone under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So here are my top tips for caring for a person with HD. Self-care is the first tip. Always look after yourself first and foremost. Do that by talking to other people, by sharing how you're feeling, sharing the responsibility and taking time out for yourself. Routine is really important for a person living with HD. You can be part of that routine, you can encourage them to stick to the routine. That reduces anger, it reduces irritability and makes it a much calmer home to live in. It's important that you keep things simple when you're supporting a person with HD. This prevents them becoming overwhelmed. If you break tasks down into smaller tasks, it's much easier for them not to get overwhelmed and easier for them to find the response that you're looking for. It's important that we remember to be patient with a person living with the HD, to always be kind and to be understanding. Another thing that's important is that you talk to family members or talk to your youth specialist about how you're feeling when you're supporting a person with HD. They might be able to suggest different ways to try things. You've got access to resources such as HD Roots or the literature from SHAYP that you can use to get information and extra tips. Remember that you can talk to other people about how you're feeling. It's important to share how you feel, whether that's with your youth specialist or a family member or someone you trust, perhaps a teacher at school or at college, someone you can speak to. There is another SHAYP talk on young carers if you're a young carer, and there's also the Young Carers organisation that can support you. It's also okay to say no if you don't feel comfortable doing something for a person you care about living with HD. It's important that you consider your safety plan and that you're comfortable about the task that you're asked to do. Well, we've come to the end of our SHAYP talk on caring for a person with HD. I hope you've managed to get something from it in terms of useful for you to support your family member. Remember that we've got a care framework for those living with HD where you can access from our website. You can see it on the screen below. Thanks for listening.
SHAYP would like to thank Annette for taking part in this SHAYP talk. We hope you have found it useful. If you liked our video and want to help other people find it, why not click like, comment below or share it with them.